To this webinar, Redesigning School Counseling webinar, and at this webinar we're working on the prepping for the meeting where you'll set your goals for your school counseling program for next year. So here is today's agenda. As we always do, we'll just kind of put this month into perspective. We'll go over very quickly foundational beliefs again and the process again and see where this month falls into the process. We've already done our school-to-school sharing, and it was wonderful to hear that some of the schools have done the resources meeting and other schools have done meeting for the priorities for counseling and guidance. But it looks like everybody's moving along. And just thrilled to hear at Scottsburg that the community council, advisory council members are out in the community talking up the school counseling program, and I think that's going to be wonderful to go into the resources meeting having that enthusiasm behind you. That'll be really, really good. So I look forward to hearing about the resources meeting next month. So meeting 6, we'll go over, first of all, the manual tab. Let's make sure we know about all the resources that are there. We'll do a quick walkthrough of the PowerPoint that is the foundation for this meeting. Then we'll look at the webcast tab and just kind of see the resources that are in the webcast section of the online system. And then very quickly actually go to the online system and just kind of review how to enter goals and how to enter activities. So then the next webinar is Monday, April 9th, and we'll be looking at finalizing the activities for next school year at that meeting. So first of all, just beliefs. Again, the whole reason we're doing this was to prepare students for academic success. This pyramid will come into play in a big way today. But just a reminder that the whole Redesigning School Counseling program is based on this pyramid, and it's the idea that in order to have high achievement, students need to make good choices at school, and that school counseling is important to high achievement because school counseling programs impact the student choices that kids make. So as we're designing, the way the pyramid works is that we implement a sound guidance and counseling program, and as a result, students make good choices, and as a result of that, achievement goes up. So the focus, of course, is then on student choices. So as we focus on our goals today, we're actually going to be setting goals at all 3 levels, at all 4 of those areas. All 3 levels, but we're really going to be focusing on setting goals for student choices and then designing activities around those choices. So we'll have goals for each of those 4 areas. And then to review the process real quickly, just back in the beginning, we put together this advisory council. That advisory council first created a vision for what we wanted the ideal school counseling program and ideal students and ideal school to look like. Then we looked at student data in several areas, in achievement and in student choices and in guidance and counseling. And we've set program priorities in those 4 areas. And that's really key because what we'll do now is decide which of those program priorities we want to incorporate into our school counseling program for next year. So what we're bringing into this meeting is these 4 lists of priorities with the items that receive the most priority at the top. And then what we're doing is deciding which of these priorities are actually going to become goals. Okay, so at your last meeting, before we decide what the goals are, we wanted to expand resources. We know that the more energy and time and funding and materials that we have, the more goals we can tackle in our program. So our goal for last month was to expand our resources so that we could come to the program design with as many resources, especially time, that we could put into the program. So at this meeting this month, we're basically answering the question, given what the kids need, the program priorities, and given the resources we have and who we are, what can we commit to doing? What goals can we set? One of the things that we always emphasize is that when we say we're going to reach a goal, then we do whatever it takes to make sure that that happens. So these are not just goals on paper. These are actually goals that we're going to reach, and we're going to work our tails off to make sure that happens. So we want our goals to be challenging but realistic. We want them to fall within the confines of the resources that we have, especially time. On the other hand, we know that kids are really have a lot of needs that they've brought to the table, and so we really want to push to address as many of those needs as we can. Then next month, we'll say, okay, if these are our goals, then what activities are we going to put in place to make sure that we reach those goals? And then after the advisory council stops meeting, which will be after next month, then we'll kind of roll up our sleeves and prepare those activities. So that's the process. We've already done the sharing. So just wanted to remind you that one thing that's needed for this meeting is the priority list. So you need to make sure that you're finished with meeting 5 before we go into this meeting. Okay, so let's then look at the manual tab. And I'm logged in, Jerry, I hope this is okay. I'm logged in as Franklin Community, or you're at the high school. I'm logged in as the middle school. And just to look at the manual tab, I'll scroll down to the meeting where we're setting goals, which is meeting 6. And basically in the handout that we're giving to folks, there's 4 documents, just a cover page and the agenda for the meeting, the diagram, and then the PowerPoint. I'm going to open up the agenda and let's take a look at that. In the agenda, we're basically going to open, as we always do, with welcome, introductions, warm-up. We're going to review the school counseling process, and then we're going to review the resources. This is really important because we want to remind everybody that we can't have goals that promise the sun and the moon and the stars above. We're limited by the resources that we have, especially the resource of time. So when the advisory council is working with you on setting goals, we want them to be goals that you can accomplish, that are realistic. Then we'll review the priorities, where you will bring everybody back to, over the past several months, we've been coming up with these are the things that we think are important for the school counseling program to address. And then we'll say, okay, given the resources we have, and given all the needs that kids have brought to the table and all these priorities that we have, what will be our program goals for next year? So we'll establish those program goals, and we'll actually end up with goals for student achievement, goals for student choices, goals for guidance, and goals for counseling. And these 4 different types of goals will fit into that pyramid, and I'll show you how that will happen in a second. So we'll end up with those goals. The very last thing we'll do is a capacity check. We'll just say, you know, again, given who we are and the time and energy and resources that we have we set goals that are beyond our capacity? And if the answer is yes, or if you're starting to feel nervous about all these things that you've committed to accomplish, then we need to go back and adjust the goals so that they can be doable, so that they fit within the counselor's capacity. Okay, so that's the agenda. Let's go to the PowerPoint. Excuse me. Okay. And here's the way the program will work. Starting out just reviewing the vision to action process. It's kind of what we just did as an intro, so I'll just fly through this. Then, again, here I would really focus on this pyramid. The pyramid's going to be very important now as we're setting goals. So we're saying again that our foundational belief is that guidance and counseling programs impact sound student choices, and as a result of students making better choices, achievement will go up. So our anticipated resources that we have next year, we'll look at our general resources. We know we have meeting space and technology, materials, supplies, professional development, and program perception. And here's, based on the self-study that we looked at last month and then our work to expand our resources, we've come up with X amount of funding per student that we have available to support our program. And then, of course, you would fill in the amount there. Our counselor-to-student ratio in our building is whatever that amount is to 1, and of course you'd fill that in as well. Our anticipated counselor time use for next year is this. This is, you would be looking at to come up with these amounts, you'd be looking at your actual time use from this year, and then you'd be looking at any adjustments that you were able to make to that based on the expanding your resources. And you would come up with, this is the anticipated amount of time that we think our counselors will spend in each of these areas. And this is important because if you end up with no time in the counseling area, then you're having any goals in counseling would be ridiculous. So it's important that you understand the anticipated counselor time use before you go into your goals. So we also know from our self-study that we have others in our school, in our community, who help deliver the school counseling program. So you would list a teacher advisor program or maybe a boys club activity in the community side. So just letting people know that you have resources of other people that are helping you with your program as well. Then for your priority ideas, we're just reminding people that you've set priorities in all 4 of those areas. I would have those priorities ready to pass out to people, those sheets, so that everybody's got that in front of them, that these are all the needs that kids have brought to the table and the things that they thought were important. So today's task is, again, given the resources we have, including time, which priority areas do we want to identify as goals for the school counseling program? So we'll be establishing achievement goals, and then we'll say what choices do kids need to make in order to reach those achievement goals. And then we'll be looking at what are the guidance knowledge that kids need to know and master so that they'll make those choices. And then what are the counseling goals that we need to put in place to help kids make those sound choices. So here's an example. And notice we're kind of working this top down. Let's say that my academic goal, my achievement goal, was that I wanted students to pass Algebra 2. Maybe that's part of my school improvement plan. It's something that came up on the priority list, and it's really what I want my school counseling program to focus on. Then I'd be asking myself the question, well, what choices do kids need to make in order to set them up so that they can pass Algebra 2? So I think about that, and I might say, well, one of the choices that they have to do to pass Algebra 2 is they have to enroll in it. So then I'd work it down and say, okay, then what guidance knowledge do kids need that if they had that knowledge, they would be more likely to enroll in Algebra 2? So maybe one thing is that I want kids to be able to describe the impact of a college diploma on one's standard of living. And then I also want them to demonstrate knowledge of the college admission requirements that includes Algebra 2. So my thinking is that if the kids understood those 2 things, that would make them more likely to enroll in Algebra 2. And then if they enroll in Algebra 2, they'd be more likely to pass Algebra 2 because it's hard to pass it if you don't enroll in it. So then on the counseling goals, maybe my counseling goal is to reach a personal goal established in individual or group counseling. And in other words, if I kind of work backwards, if I'm going to repeat here, but if I want kids to enroll in Algebra 2, what counseling goal should I put in place that would make kids more likely to enroll in Algebra 2? Well, if I can put in a goal that would help kids address an individual or a social personal issue that's interfering with learning, that would make kids more likely to enroll and succeed in Algebra 2. So when expressing goals, we like to keep the goal statement very simple. You're going to be talking about your goals with your advisory council members, maybe with school board members, maybe with students. And so we want to make the goal itself expressed in a very simple way. So we're not going to talk about stay-nines or standard deviations or anything else. We're just going to talk about percentages. So we always, in ASA, we express goals as the percentage of, and then a student group, and then who do something, who reach a certain benchmark, and then by a given date, and then we want to increase the data from the current data, or the baseline data, to target data. So here's what goals might sound like. A goal might be in the first row that we're going to increase the percentage of junior year completers who earn 2 credits in Algebra 2 by the end of next school year. Our current data is 61%, and our target data is 75%. So that's an achievement goal. We've got a student group, we've got the benchmark, timeline, current data, and then target. Second row, we're going to increase the percentage of graduates who earn a 3 or better on an AP test. Timeline is by the end of next school year. Current data is 32%. We want that to go up to 45%. And then an elementary example, increase the percentage of third graders who read at grade level by the end of next school year, going from 72% to 80%. So that's expressing achievement goals. We can do the same thing with student choice goals. This time we're looking at choices that we want kids to make that will impact their learning. So the first line is we're going to increase the percentage of junior year completers who have enrolled in Algebra 2. We want to do that by the end of next school year. Our current data is 80. We want it to go up to 90. Next line, we're going to increase the percentage of students who choose to enroll in AP courses. The benchmark is that we want them to take an AP test. We're going to do that by the end of next school year. We're going to go from 52% to 100%. Notice that that doesn't say that they're going to get a 3 or higher. This is the choice to enroll and take the test. So we can get to 100% on that one, especially if we make it a requirement of the course. And then third graders, we want them to read aloud, to read 1 hour a week outside of school. We want them to do that at the end of the next school year, and current data is 22%. We want that to go up to 50%. So then we would design the guidance and counseling program. If these end up being our goals, then we would design the guidance and counseling program to help kids want to make these choices. Here's just a couple of other goals. Let's just look at the middle one, 8th grade completers. We want them to describe the AP course offerings in the high school that they're going to attend. We want to complete that by the end of next school year. Right now, only 10% of the kids can describe the AP courses in the high school, and by the end of next year, we want all 8th graders to be able to do that. Okay, so here are counseling goals. Counseling goals are a little bit different because when students come into individual or group counseling, they're bringing all different kinds of issues to the table and probably have all different kinds of goals. I have found in my programs that the easiest way to reflect a counseling data is to just ask every student when they come into individual or group counseling to identify a personal goal that they want to work with, and then I just do the percentage of students who are enrolled in individual or group counseling who have reached their personal goal. All their personal goals have been different, but if 90% of them reach their personal goals, then you'd have data there. So then a timeline, It may be on current data that it's not anything that I've collected so far. Maybe I've never asked students to set goals in individual and group counseling, so it's not available. And then my target data is I want every student that I work with to be able to reach the personal goal that they've set in counseling with us. So tips: make the goal reachable but challenging. Remember that lots of people can implement the activities to help kids reach the goal. It doesn't have to be just you. If we're wanting kids to, if we're wanting the 8th graders to understand the AP course offerings, the AP teachers can help you do that. The 8th grade counselor can help. There's just lots of different folks that can help address that. Don't include goals that you can't reach by the end of next school year. We'd like these to be one-year goals. And then the goals should form a logical pyramid that I usually work it backwards. So we've started out with what's the academic achievement that we want kids to make, and then what are the choices that kids have to do to reach that achievement, and then what are the guidance and counseling goals that we need to put in place in order for kids to make those choices. Okay, so before I go on to the pyramid, I'm going to pause right here and see if anybody has questions or if this is making sense. So making sense?
Fine with me. That looks good.
Okay. Okay, so let's talk more about these goals pyramids. The task now with your advisory council is to create one or more goal pyramids. And the first thing we're going to do is start out with student achievement goals. So we're going to look at the student achievement priorities, so they'll have that list in front of them, and you're going to ask the group, given the resources we have, which of these should be goals for the school counseling program. The first year I did this, we had one goal, and this was back in the early 90s, but our goal was just that we wanted all of our students to have passed algebra by the end of 10th grade. And that was it. We designed our whole school counseling program around that goal. In today's environment, with the emphasis on college-level courses, AP, dual credit, IB for a high school, maybe you'd want your one goal to be around increasing the percentage of kids who have a 3 or higher in an AP course or a C or better in a dual credit course. For an elementary school, you might want to have an achievement goal that's just focused on I-STEP math, or even better, one of the standards within I-STEP math that maybe the students are struggling with. So first thing is to set the achievement goals. Then second thing is to decide on the student choice goals. So for each of the achievement goals, you would say to the group, okay, what student choices do kids need to make in order for us to reach that academic goal in this pyramid? So you'd look at the student choice priority list, and you say, are any of these things keeping kids from reaching this academic goal? And if so, then you'd add them into the middle part of the pyramid. We want kids to make these choices. Then the next goal that you set with your advisory council is to look at your guidance goals. And again, you'd be asking the question, if we want kids to make these choices, what do they have to know or be able to do? And so then we put those guidance goals in there. And one just word about the guidance goals is, if your school is planning on earning the Indiana Gold Star School Counseling Award, you must have guidance goals that address all of the Indiana student standards for guidance. A lot of times when I first introduced this idea to schools, it looks incredibly overwhelming because there's, especially for middle schools, there's a lot of guidance indicators. So you have to have goals around all those guidance indicators. But what you'll find is most of those guidance indicators, maybe 90% of them, you're already hitting. So you're not having to add a whole lot on new. And the other thing is that you'll find that you can do one activity and maybe address 7 of those guidance indicators. And another thing to remember is that not all of the activities have to be implemented by you. If if you're in a middle school and you've got a family and consumer science program, my guess is that they're hitting a lot of your career development goals. If you have a health course that's required for all kids, they may be hitting some of the social personal guidance indicators and goals. So, kind of when you look at that, don't get overwhelmed in the beginning, because chances are you're already addressing a lot of those guidance indicators. It's just going to be minor tweaking. If for schools that are seeking the RAMP award, the RAMP does not require schools to include all the ASCA national standards as guidance goals, but you should include ASCA indicators that are part of your goals pyramid, but you're not required to include all the national standards. Okay, so then finally, we're also setting goals for counseling. So what personal or social problems must we address in order for kids to make choices in the pyramid? And again, this could be goals that are broad in nature. We're going to look at the percentage of students who are involved in guidance or counseling who have reached a personal goal. So, okay. So, and then at the end, we're just asking, once we have all the goals established, we're asking everybody to check, given the resources available, including time, do we have the capacity to implement activities to address all of our guidance and counseling goals? If not, then you need to say, okay, then we need more resources. Hire another counselor, get a guidance secretary, whatever. Or we need to just be realistic about this and say we can't do everything. In my program, the first time we did this, we discovered that we were way biting off more than we could chew. And we had to go back and say, okay, we cannot possibly reach all these goals. What can we do and do well? And so we narrowed it down to, so it was something that if we worked our tails off, we could reach, but it wasn't overwhelming. I mean, it wasn't something that was just impossible. Okay, the other thing to think about is if your pyramid no longer makes sense because you started omitting goals, then you might consider omitting student choice and achievement goals too. For example, if you decide we just don't have time in our guidance and counseling program to teach kids about AP courses, then it wouldn't make sense to have a student choice goal that kids would choose to enroll in AP courses, nor would it make sense to have an achievement goal that kids would succeed in AP courses. So when you start taking goals out of pyramids, sometimes you have to get rid of the whole pyramid, or you have to adjust to make everything make sense. Okay, I'm going to show you one more thing, and then I'll ask for questions on the pyramids. Back to the online system, there's a tool that will help you build those pyramids. In the tools for meeting 6, there's, I'm going to open up this, no, let me open up this one first. There's a pyramid builder that we created. And so here's how this would work. You would start out at the top, and when you very first asked your advisory council, what's our achievement goal going to be, you would just write that in here, earn a 3 or better on an AP test. There's the achievement goal. Then I would say, okay, what are the student choices that kids need to make in order to do this? Well, maybe one choice is they have to choose to enroll in AP. Another choice is they have to ask for extra help. Another choice they have to do is they have to turn in homework. So we'd be looking at what are the choices that kids make in order to be able to reach this achievement goal. Then we would come down and we would say, okay, what are the guidance goals? So if I want kids to enroll in AP courses, one of my guidance goals have to be that kids understand the value of AP courses. So there's a guidance goal. It's a knowledge goal. Maybe they have to understand the availability of funding for AP tests, test fees. So then I'm writing down the guidance goals, and then I'm coming here. What do I got to do in my guidance program to encourage kids to ask for extra help? What do I have to do in my guidance program to encourage kids to turn in their homework? Then at the bottom, there's also counseling goals here. In most of the programs I've seen, most counselors will use the rather broad goal that we're going to increase the percentage of students participating in counseling interventions who reach a personal goal. You can just say personal goal, or you can say related to, I don't know, bullying or whatever, self-image or whatever your focus is. But I think most counselors would just leave that very, very broad. So then this becomes your pyramid. You've got your achievement goal at top, you've got your student choice goals in the middle, and you've got your guidance goals and counseling goals down below. So I'd have one of these posters for each achievement goal. If I had another achievement goal that students were going to read at grade level in 3rd grade, then I would come through and I'd spell out what are the student choices on that one. It would be a whole separate pyramid poster. Okay, so I think this gives you kind of a way to kind of work through and have a visual as you're building that goals pyramid. So let me then ask if there's questions. Okay, I will go on then. Okay, so going back to the manual, we've looked at all of the handouts. The tools for meeting 6 is the prep for meeting 6, the facilitator notes, the poster that we just looked at. I've also put in a sample of what a poster would look like after it's all filled out. The guidelines for goals, let me open up that quickly. This is just the guidelines for writing school counseling goals. That they have 4 components. Here's some sample student groups, some sample benchmarks, behavioral verbs for writing the goal statement, what targets look like, what deadlines might look like. So this is just kind of a tips sheet. As you're going through this, that might be helpful. And then the program goals worksheet. This is totally optional. We found that counselors were, before they got to the computer to enter their goals in, they were just kind of by hand writing down their goals on a piece of paper, and then they would take that paper to the computer to enter the goals into the computer. So we just created just a form for you to do that on if you want to. Before you get to the computer, you could write down, student group is juniors, what do I want them to do? I want them to take an AP course or get a 3 or better in an AP course, and then what my current data is, my target data. So, so there's a section for student achievement goals, for student choice goals, guidance goals, and then there's quite a few guidance goals, and then the counseling goals. The reason there are so many guidance goals on this document is because these are all the Indiana student standards for guidance, so we just dropped them all in there. Okay, so that is that, and then the tasks following meeting 6. Basically, this is just writing the minutes and entering the program goals into the online system, basically. There is, actually I'm going to upload a new version of this. In the new version, there's another section that says tasks to get ready for meeting 7, and it just suggests you that you enter your current school counseling activities into the computer before you get to meeting 7, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so that's the manual. The Webcasts, just a reminder, this is just kind of another way to look at everything. So if I go down to March, program goals intro, this is kind of what we've just been over, demo on how to enter program goals, conducting the meeting, submitting your minutes. It's all just kind of there. So just in a different order. Okay, so now let's go back and I want to show you how to enter the goals into the computer. So I'm going to go over here to the left. I'm clicking on program goals. And again, we've given you two demos, webcasts to watch. One's an intro and then a demo on how to get the goals into the computer. But basically, for an achievement goal, I'm going to go over here and click on Enter. And this school already has a couple of goals in. But let's say this is blank. You've done this for the first time. And I'm going to enter new goals. I'm going to create a goal. Well, to save you some time and to give you some ideas, we created a list of suggested achievement goals. So I can click on that list and then just go through the list and say, you know, I like this goal. I'm just going to click it. And then I get to say, who do I have the goal for? In this case, it was for all students, all grades. But I could have just made this goal for males or for black students or pre-reduced lunch students. But in this case, the school decided this was going to be a goal for all students in all grades. And notice that because they've already entered this as a goal, it says entered for all students in red here. The computer's telling them, don't enter this goal again, you've already entered it. So in this case, for this middle school, we only have two suggested achievement goals. I also can check all or check none. But let's say I didn't like those goals. Let's say I wanted to have a goal that was specifically to pass the algebra end of course assessment in 8th grade. I would just click on, oops, let me go back. I would just click where it says create an achievement goal. This is where you create your own. And you're just going to say what is my benchmark, pass the algebra ECA, and what students is it for? Let's say it's going to be for all groups, and then, but it's not for all grades, it's just going to be 8th graders. Then in the bottom part, we used to always require that data be entered in, but it was so time consuming that we decided to make that optional. So if this is the data field that you want to monitor, then you would just click yes, and you would put in, okay, you know, whatever the percentage was last year, what the actual 2 years ago, what the actual was for last year, what the actual is for this year, and then, or if you don't know this year yet, you just leave it blank, and then put your target in, whatever that is. So you can save the goal and add a new goal. You can save it and go back to the Achievement Goals page. You can delete the goal, or you can save. So I'm going to go back, and actually I'm going to go back here and click on Program Goals. Okay, so now I've got my achievement goals in. Now I'm going to put in the student choice goals. I'm going to click on Enter Edit, and you can see this school has goals in already. I'm going to select from a list of student choice goals, and you can see that there's several pretty typical goals that a middle school might have that I could just select from. You can see this school picked some of the suggested goals, and the computer has told them that this is entered and what the student group is who is entered for. The thing I wanted to point out on this page is these little stars. The Indiana Department of Education has targeted some student choice goals that they would like to collect data around. And if you select one of these goals, and if you participate in the program where the Department of Ed is collecting student data for school counseling, your data would be aggregated with other schools' data to begin to show, can school counseling programs have an impact on attendance or office referrals or students submitting the 21st Century Scholars Affirmation Form. So think about that. I think that would be kind of interesting. And so that's that. And then you have the ability also to, if you don't like any of those student choice goals, you can create your own. And you can, again, put the benchmark in, put the student group in. This time we give you the chance to say a locally defined group. So maybe you want to have a goal about homework completion, but it's just going to be for students who participated in homework in the homework club, and you're just going to monitor their data. So you've got some real flexibility to define who the student group is. And then again, if you want to monitor this data, you can put in actual and then target out to next year. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the program goals page. Now, this next part, I'm still in student choice, but one of the things that we do want you to do is we would like you to monitor data in at least a few of your student choice goals, and we call those your student choice priorities. So I'm going to click on Edit, and what you'll see here, this school has not yet identified their priority goals, but what you can see here is here's all of their goals, and what I'm being asked to do is just to select 1, 2, or 3 of these goals that are going to be my top goals. That I really, really am going to work hard. I'm going to work on all of them, but these are my main goals that I really want to hit. The reason we're asking you to do this is next year, at the end of next year, we'll do an annual analysis, and what the computer will do is it'll spit out a report that talks about those goals, and it will give you longitudinal data for those goals, and it will ask you to comment on whether or not you met your goals. And if so, what did you do that made that happen? Or if you didn't, how come you didn't? And down the road, what we want to do is to create a database that says, okay, for when schools are working on creating a graduation plan and they meet that goal, here's the kinds of things that they did. Or if they didn't meet their goal, here's the advice that they're giving you. And when you get to the end of next year in the annual analysis, that'll all spit out. That'll be one of the activities that you do at the end of the year. Okay, so in the student choice goals, you're looking at entering not only all of your goals, but then the priorities as well. Okay, so that brings us down to the guidance and counseling goals. I'm going to hit the guidance goals. I'm going to go to Enter. And in this one, I'm being asked, again, to select from a list of suggested guidance goals. And the suggested guidance goals are all of the Indiana Student Standards for Guidance. So this is a middle school. You can see there's like a lot of them. So if you are intending to apply for the Gold Star Award, you have to address all of these in your program. And you can just click Check All or Check None. But if you are going to do Gold Star, you have to check all. So then there may be something that you, let me go back one more time. The other thing I forgot to show you is the student group. You get to say, okay, one of my goals is to help students develop a system for managing assignments and deadlines. It's going to be for all students, but then you can decide which grade level you're going to address that at. Okay. So, and then you have the ability also to create a guidance goal. If you don't like one of the ones that are there, you can create your own. Or if you don't like the way one's worded there too, you can just not include that and then create your own instead. Okay, back to program goals. Then the counseling goals works the same way. You get a list of suggested counseling goals, and then you can create your own goal. Okay, then at the bottom of all this, After all of these are entered, you can do two different kinds of reports. You can do all goals that are sorted by goal type. So here's their achievement goals, and you can see these tables only appear if you say you're going to collect data. So this school must have said they're going to collect data, but they don't have the data in there yet. So they've got 2 achievement goals, they've got 6 student choice goals, they've got 10 guidance academic, 3 guidance career, and 7 guidance personal social. You can also print out the goals by grade level. So if you wanted to show folks what you're doing, and I think at this school when we went through, most of their goals were for all students in the building, but here's some that were focused on 7th graders, and here's some that are focused on 8th graders. So you've got that ability. Okay, so that's the goals, in putting goals in. The next thing, let me just pause there. Any questions on getting the goals in?
Nope, looks good.
Okay, next thing is putting activities in. This is a place you've been to before. We asked you before you went to meeting 5 to enter your non-program activities. This time we're asking you to input your current school counseling activities. So to do that, you're going to jump down to the activities section. Don't worry about the rest of this, just jump down to activities. You're going to enter, and then you're going to create an activity, and just think about what are all the guidance activities we do, and you type in whatever it is, career fair, write a description. I suggest that your descriptions are just very concrete and clear. They don't have to be long. Basically, we want to know, what are you doing, and who's doing it, and how is it going to happen. Just very brief. You're going to tell me that this is in this case, is a guidance career. And then here are the student choice goals. So I'm going to show them. And then this career fair should help kids create a four-year high school course plan. It should help kids create a graduation plan. And you'll notice it's really important that you put in your goals first, because when we get down to this point, if you haven't put your goals in, there'll be nothing here. This will help me identify my career interest area, and it might impact my plan to continue my education following high school. Then the next thing it's asking you to do is to connect with guidance and counseling goals. So I'm going to show all, and here are all of the student standards for guidance that we've put in. And then I just look for the ones that had to do with career development, check them off. I'm going to have 8th graders do this. It's going to happen in September. The person responsible is, this should be your steering team, but if somebody's going to do this, like maybe there's a Boy Scout troop that's going to come in and put this career fair in, just say someone not listed here, and then just type their name in. This is not a new activity, and then just save. So I want to show you one other thing on the program activities. On the program activities, in the report that spits out, you'll see, and this is down the road, but I'm showing this to you now because I want you to see why it's so important to put clear descriptions in. Here's I can print out a report now for this school that shows all of their activities. Here's their personal social activities, here's their guidance activities, here's their program management activities, and it gives you just a little description of each. We've had many school counselors enter all of their activities in and then take this report to their principal or their school board as an advocacy piece for why it's so important that school counselors are in the building and what they're going to lose if they decide for whatever reason to have fewer counselors. So it's a really good advocacy piece. But you can print that out, all activities, guidance activities. I can also print out a monthly calendar once all those get in there. So here's what they're doing in August, September, October, November. And again, the more descriptive titles you use, the more description that you have in your descriptions, the better those reports print out. And then just looking ahead, next month, what we're going to do is we're going to come in and we'll look at the goals that you've set this month. And then we're going to look at each activity and say, is this activity going to make us move closer to our goal, or is it going to take us away from our goal? And we'll weed out the activities that really don't align with your goals. That will get you more time. And then we'll keep the activities, or maybe even add activities that will take you closer to your goals. So, but before we can study your activities, your current activities, we have to get them in there. So between now and next meeting, that's part of homework as well, to get the program goals in, but then also the program activities. So I think that's it. Questions? Okay. So I guess we'll, I look forward very much to hearing from you all next month and to see what goals you came up with. I'd really, if there's one tip in preparing for this meeting that I would give you, it would be really to think about that goals pyramid and to really think about how everything aligns, that we're starting out with this achievement goal, but then we've got to get student choices in so kids will make that achievement. And then the guidance and counseling program is giving kids the foundations they need so they'll want to make the choices that we think are important. So I'd really think through that and get very familiar with that table, that poster before you get up in front of folks. So, so we're kind of coming to the end of the end. Everything we've done up to now has been to put you in the position where you can get the right goals and then next month the right activities. So this is kind of where it all comes together, and it's always, I think, an exciting meeting to have. So if there's no questions, I wish you lots of luck, and we'll talk to you next month on April 9th. So thanks so much.
Thanks.